We got a couple of things that I know John definitely wants to get into in the NBA. So, John, you want to kick this thing off?
Yeah, so crashing news in our last episode number 20, we talked about Chet Holmgren getting injured against or in the crossover pro am. He's gonna miss his entire rookie season after suffering an injury in his Lisfranc, Frank, which is the middle of your foot, those bones that help stabilize it so you can be balanced when you're walking and running. And for the OKC Thunder, this blow is just crushing news for a group that was supposed to be pretty competitive this year. Last year, they ranked 17th in defensive rating. This is one of those young teams that does compete defensively. And I give a little bit of a tip of the hat to their coach, Mark Dagnall, who had experience coaching the G League, to getting a guy like Lou Dort to be intense. And so coming to the season, Chet Holmgren was supposed to be the one to averaging 3.7 blocks to Gonzaga, making a legitimate inside presence for the Thunder they haven't had. He finishes at an elite level shooter for his age, very good ball handler, can grab a rebound and go coast to coast. And like I just said, his anticipation and IQ, along with 7'6" wingspan and very tough for a kid that's 190 pounds, that makes him an interior presence similar to what we saw last year in Evan Mobley in Cleveland, where after the Cavs were a bottom dweller defense for four straight seasons, all of a sudden Mobley comes in, their top five. He had Jared Allen next to him. Let's not get that twisted. But still, now you lose Chet Holmgren. You go from a team that was supposed to be competitive defensively, especially with a healthy SGA, to now you're in prime position to get another number one overall pick with the Utah Jazz if they move Donovan Mitchell. To go along with, of course, the Spurs who traded Dejounte Murray and the Houston Rockets. But there's only a 14% chance, though, of getting that number one overall pick. The lottery is a crapshoot. And the Thunder have seen it the last two seasons because they haven't gotten the number one overall pick in spite of taking all the measures to sit veterans, tanking to get that top spot. And for Chet, this has raised a lot of concern more specifically for his health long term. Because we're all saying, well, you look at Blake Griffin, Zion Williamson, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Craig Oden, all those players that missed their first season had injury issues throughout their career, and it's not a good sign. The Lisfranc injury he had was a fluky thing where if he jumped a split second sooner or later, the thing couldn't have happened. But there's so much pressure on his foot, the middle section of it, while he was jumping up to block LeBron in transition, that it was so it's just a perfect example of terrible luck. And now for Thunder fans, they have to wait a full season until they can see Chet take the court, while having this in the back of their mind, a cloud of doubt, seeing all these other stars that missed their first season. So, Brandon, I want to start with you because you're someone that's very up in the air about Chet.
Mhm.
For OKC specifically, is this something that they should be worried about not having him for this upcoming season? Is this going to be a sign of things to come in the future? And more specifically, when he does come back, what do you expect in OKC? How competitive will he be?
So, I mean, first off, prayers out to Chet Holmgren, uh, hoping and wishing a speedy and successful recovery. But again, this was a concern. You know, John says it was a little bit of fluky, okay, but this was a concern for people. Is that his slight frame, will it be able to hold up in the for a long, grueling season? And he didn't even make it to the start of the season. He didn't even make it to freaking training camp, like or preseason, whatever you want to call it. So for me, I mean, sometimes injuries can be a blessing in disguise. We'll have to see how it plays out to make that, you know, proclamation, I guess you want to say. Um, yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see, you know, when he comes back if you know, he's okay. Because I don't. Who else has suffered a Liz Frank injury? Because this is not a common injury, is it? Right?
This is really a football injury. You saw Travis
Yeah.
Etienne.
Who do you know? Like, is there a major name that has had this injury before? Because I can't think of any really off the top of my head.
I don't think ever in basketball.
No. What about in football? Is there a major one in football that you have? You can look it up. But yeah, so because I don't know how long the recovery time is. I don't know how long. You know, should we expect him not to be the same person he is next year? Is it like an ACL or something where it's going to take a year for him to really get his legs back under him and whatnot? Yeah, I mean, I think for OKC, it's I don't think they were poised to really make a playoff push. Maybe they could have gotten to the play-in, but they wouldn't have made any noise or a run or anything. But yeah, I think continue to build this young team. Get a high. You're going to get a high draft pick, and just continue to build this young team for the future.
Some of those names include for the list ranking NFL, Matt Corral, Le'Veon Bell, and like I said before, Travis Etienne missed all of his rookie season recovering
Oh
from a
yeah,
season.
Travis and Chet. So yeah, we'll see how. I mean, wishing him nothing but the best, but this is not a good way to start off your NBA career,
I
especially
agree.
with those
Wishing,
concerns.
hoping he gets a speedy recovery. This is though a little bit concerning for a big guy like that. People think he's not going to be able to handle the NBA physicality, but look at Kristaps Porzingis, just any guy like that, where you have an injury early on. Sometimes it can be a sign of what is to come. But
Mhm.
for Chet, he's 20 years old. This kid loves playing the sport. I think he's a special talent and a top two prospect for me in the 2022 NBA draft. Just a special, unique all around big man with a skill set that helps make teams contenders. And my biggest concern, quite honestly, is not really the injuries as much it is OKC being bad for another year leads to a young core where you have 15 guys that are 22 or younger, and you can only develop so many of them. You can only have, two or three priorities. They're about to have five or six priorities, where these guys are lottery picks and they have star upside, and that's what OKC is going for, star talent. And they're doing that to create a long runway for themselves. But at a certain point in time, Shea is 24 years old. You can't rebuild for 3 more years because then when you start winning, he'll be going on 28. And, it's hard to flip a switch when you're rebuilding for 5 or 6 years. And then you tell these now 24-year-olds who all they've known in the NBA is losing on a rebuilding team, playing meaningless basketball. It's time to compete in the playoffs. It's a lot easier said than done to just have that complete 180.
I think the thing that sucks the most is just the kid's so young, man. And then you get so pumped up to see some of these players that I'm not all too familiar with everything that Chet has done, but I've ranked him pretty high as people I'm excited to see this upcoming season. But it always sucks. So speaking from just a sports fan perspective, in every sport, this happens every year to a top prospect, a first round pick. It's really deflating because some people don't bounce back from it. You know, you could be 20 years old and you'll never play the same that you were when you were 18 or 19. No chance at progression. So I really, as Brandon said, my prayers are with the guy. I hope he has a speedy recovery because I would love to see OKC rise back to success, man, because the franchise kind of deserves it. They really deserve it. So speedy recovery, Chet. Hope to see you on the court pretty soon.
Well said. That just so true. Sometimes guys don't always just, stay healthy for the rest of their career. It's always easier said than done when you want to eliminate any doubt of him missing time throughout his career.